Hello everyone, I'm Shao Qiang Kia. A girl from Sichuan came to Taiwan to marry and set foot on this strange land with a full heart of trepidation. Her story is not a legendary one with ups and downs, but a warm power flows in the daily fireworks. From the first bowl of noodle soup to the enthusiastic vendors in the night market to the kindness of strangers on the streets, she slowly took root in Taiwan and felt the warmth of home and the tenderness of life. Next, I will use the first person to tell the girl's experience in Taiwan. When I first set foot on the land of Taiwan, I tightly grasped the luggage in my hand, and my heart was in turmoil. It was still winter, but the weather in Taipei was warm, which was completely different from the winter in Panzihua. I remember that when I got off the plane, my heart was still pounding, just as nervous as when I first met my in-laws. To be honest, I was really a little nervous before coming. Neighbors said that Taiwan was poor and the houses were broken. My parents also advised me to think about it again, but I was determined that my husband was determined, so I married here. Life is full of surprises. You would never have thought that a Sichuanese girl like me would settle down in Taiwan one day. I remember the morning when I first arrived in Taipei. My husband took me to a breakfast shop near our home. The proprietor was a 50-year-old auntie with permanent hair and of reading glasses. When she saw us enter the door, she immediately shouted with a smile, "Honey, this is the mainland bride you often talk about." When I heard this name, I felt a little uncomfortable and lowered my head and dared not speak. But the next words of the proprietor made my nose sour. She said, "Come often in the future. Auntie will cook the most delicious noodle soup for you." I will never forget that bowl of noodle soup in my life. The slippery noodles are matched with the delicious soup, and there is a soft boiled egg. The egg yolk is golden when it flows out. The proprietor also specially added a large spoonful of her homemade chopped green onions and sauce for me. This is not eating out, it is as warm as being in her own kitchen. In the first few months in Taiwan, I was like a child with wide eyes, and everything I saw was new. Motorcycles on the street shuttled like water, but everyone was very orderly, stopping at red lights and going at green lights, and no one rushed to get a seat. The bus stop also marked the arrival time of each bus, and the people waiting for the bus lined up consciously, which looked very civilized. What surprised me most was the night market culture here. I remember the first time I went to Shilin night market, I felt like I had entered a new world. The aroma of various snacks floated in the air, and just smelling them made people drool. I tried keizijian, large intestine wrapped in small intestine, fried chicken, and pearl milk tea for the first time. The voices of vendors shouting came one after another, but they spoke very politely and would add words like, "Excuse me," and "Thank you." Once I stood in front of a stall and watched someone fry fried chicken. My mouth was watering, but I was embarrassed to buy it. The stall owner was a big brother in his 40s. Seeing me staring at the pot, he smiled and said, "Sister, do you want to try it?" I quickly waved my hand and said no, but he had already picked the most fragrant chicken steak for me with a bamboo stick. This enthusiasm really made me flattered. When I first came here, I even found it difficult to buy vegetables. The vegetable markets here in Taiwan are different from those in my hometown. I couldn't understand what the vendors said, and the prices were converted on the spot in Taiwan dollars. When I was choosing takanari vegetables, I accidentally spilled vegetable juice on my newly bought white shirt. I was dumbfounded at the time, thinking that this was a big embarrassment. If I did this in my hometown, I don't know how many people would roll their eyes at me. But the vegetable seller took out a clean rag from under the counter without saying a word and gave it to me, saying, "Come on, wipe it quickly. It's okay." While she was wiping it for me, she was still saying to me, "Is this your first time buying vegetables? Come often in the future. The vegetables here are the freshest." At that moment, I almost cried, not because my clothes were dirty, but because I was moved by this simple kindness. In my hometown, I was ridiculed for similar things, and some even called me a country bumpkin, but here I felt warmth and tolerance. There is also an old man selling fruits in the market. Every time he sees me, he will greet me warmly, "Come here, today's fruits are especially sweet." Sometimes I am in a hurry when choosing, and he will patiently teach me how to choose the best fruits. For guava, choose the green one with a faint fragrance, which is the sweetest. He often adds a few more for me, saying that he wants to add more food for me. Slowly, I began to like the pace of life here. In the morning, when I go to the vegetable market, I will greet my neighbors when I meet them on the way. On the way home, after buying vegetables, I can also stop by the breakfast shop to have a cup of soy milk. The owner of the bakery on the corner remembers that I like to eat red bean bread, and every time I go there, she will specially leave one. This feeling of being remembered and cared for is really warm. Once it was raining heavily. I was waiting for the bus at the bus stop and forgot to bring an umbrella. An old lady with a basket of vegetables next to me gave me half of her umbrella without saying a word. The two of us squeezed under one umbrella, and she kept tilting the umbrella towards me, and half of her body was wet. This selfless act is a very common thing in Taiwan. Such days are real and warm. Although I still miss home in Sichuan hot pot and skewers, my heart has gradually taken root in this land. Every morning, when I open the window, look at the banyan tree in the alley, and listen to the temple bells in the distance, I begin to understand that home is actually a place where you feel at ease. If I were to say that in Taiwan, what moved me most was the attitude of people here towards animals. I remember one spring, a lame strayed dog came to our alley. In my hometown, such stray dogs might be driven away, and if they are unlucky, they would be beaten. But here, the boss of the braised food next door brought out a cardboard box without saying a word and even put an old towel under it. Grandma Zhang, who grows flowers upstairs, feeds the dog leftovers every day. Mrs. Lin, the boss of the stationery store downstairs, found a veterinarian to help the dog with his injuries. The dog later lived in our alley for more than half a year, and everyone called it Wenkai. Every morning when I go to buy groceries, it limps behind me as if it is escorting me. When its legs healed, the people in the whole alley were extremely happy. Now think about it. This is not taking care of a dog. It is simply practicing a life attitude, a respect for life. Another time, I went to a small store to buy something, but I forgot to bring my wallet. I took it out at the counter for a long time before I found it. At that time, I was so embarrassed that I thought this was a disaster. If you encounter this kind of situation in your hometown, you will either be glared at or scolded. But the clerk smiled and said, "Sister, it's okay. You can give it to me next time." When I heard it, my eyes were red, and I stammered to leave my ID card, but the clerk said, "No, our customers here are all very good." This kind of trust and warmth reminds me of an old saying in our place: people's hearts are separated by their stomach. But in Taiwan, it seems that the stomach between people has become transparent. If there is something delicious at the neighbor's house, they will always send a portion over. If someone's family is in trouble, everyone will lend a hand. This is not a neighbor, it is simply a family. Once I saw a mother and daughter in the park. The mother squatted on the ground and patiently taught her daughter to draw on the sand with a branch. The little girl's drawing was crooked, but the mother said, "Great, this puppy is very spiritual." My eyes were watching from the side, and I remembered when I was a child. My parents were busy making money, so they had no time to play with me. But the parents here always seemed to have endless stories and endless truths to tell, and they weren't ever impatient. Slowly, I also learned the lifestyle of Taiwanese people. In the morning, I drank soy milk leisurely and watched the elderly people practicing Tai Chi in the park. When I took a walk in the evening, I would chat with my neighbors and talk about whose vegetables were particularly fresh in the vegetable market today. When I go to the night market on weekends, I no longer just buy and buy, but sit down and slowly taste a bowl of braised pork rice. I heard the boss say that this recipe was passed down from his ancestors. What I admire most is the way and eyes people discuss things. Once in a coffee shop at the corner of the alley, I heard several young people discussing environmental protection issues. They talked back and forth and it was very lively. Some people suggested reducing the use of plastic bags. Others said riding bicycles more and driving. Everyone talked a lot, but they all made sense. In the end, although no consensus was reached, no one was angry, and we drank coffee and cake together. This reminded me of my hometown, where everyone was afraid of saying the wrong thing and would rather keep it to themselves. Now I have completely gotten used to the pace of life in Taiwan. I say good morning to the bus driver in the morning, say thank you when I buy something, and walk unconsciously slow down. My accent has also changed, and I unconsciously add "o" when I speak. Even when I'm angry, I become gentle. The refrigerator at home is covered with small magnetic stickers bought from the night market. The kitchen is filled with pickled radishes given by the market aunt, and the balcony is planted with green plants bought from the flower market. Every morning when I water them, I think of every little thing I have experienced over the years. I used to think that Taiwan was a foreign place, but now I feel that this is my home, not because of how big the house is, nor because of how rich life is, but because the people here have taught me what true happiness is: not cars and houses, not money and status, but those inexplicable human touches. Every time I go back to my hometown, my neighbors say that I have changed, that I have become gentler, and that I am more mellow in what I say and do. I know that this is the change that Taiwan has brought to me. It has made me understand that kindness is not weakness, politeness is not hypocrisy, and slow life is not a waste of time. Over the years, I have not only settled down in Taiwan, but also found another me here. Now I often sit on the small balcony at home, watching the people coming and going in the alley, my husband cooking noodles in the kitchen, Grandma Lynn next door watering the flowers, and the children across the street chasing butterflies. In a trance, I feel like I have lived here all my life. This feeling is like a cup of warm soy milk, warm and sweet, straight into my heart. That's it for today's video. If you think what I said is interesting, please like and follow me. Your support is the biggest motivation for me to update. Thank you.